Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me again today. Today we're going to talk about this is a good topic. If you're a manager, please turn it up. We're going to talk about designing a compensation plan. And I'm going to go through two types of compensation plans. Now, here's what's interesting. People always ask me, Victor, I get this a lot from managers. Victor, how do I motivate my sales team? And one of the answers I always give is talk to me about your compensation plan. Because at the end of the day, making money does matter. I know it won't buy you happiness, but it'll buy you options, as I've talked about in my past podcasts. And too often, managers don't think about their compensation plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through an example of a compensation plan. And hopefully, you'll take some ideas from this compensation plan and maybe implement with your sales team. Now, when you look at compensation plans, there's basically three what I call broad categories. One is commission only, right? You keep what you kill, so to speak. In other words, there's no base salary, it's pure commission. At the other extreme, there's just a base salary that you get for doing the job, and there's no commission. Seriously, no commission. That's it. Your base salary, that's it. And then right in the middle, there's a mix, base plus commission. People always ask me, which do you favor? And the one I do not favor is just base. I don't favor that. There's no motivation in there. There's no incentive to be better. My second favorite is pure commission. My favorite, by far, is base plus commission. Look, you can do commission only. And if you have a short sales cycle, then maybe commission only is a good way to go if you have a short sales cycle. But if you're in the B2B business, not the B2C, B2B, and you have sales cycles that are 3, 4, 5 months long, I think a pure commission type of structure is not the way to go. Again, the shorter the sales cycle, one can justify only commission. The longer the sales cycle, that becomes a little more difficult. Having said that, qualifying that, let's say that these have 6-month sales cycle. What I want to do is I want to create a compensation plan that is base plus commission. Now, the first big question we have to ask ourselves as manager when we're hiring a salesperson is, what is the total compensation package? Now, this is an important question. What is the total compensation package at 100% of quota? Now, a quota is the number I'm going to assign that salesperson. These are my expectations. I want you to hit this revenue number. Let's walk through it slowly. What do I mean by what is their total compensation at 100% of plan or of quota? Let's say that we want to bring somebody on board, and if they hit their number, let's say it's $1 million quota. I just assigned you $1 million quota. I just hired you. I've trained you, and I said, look, what I need you to do is sell, this year I want you to sell $1 million, right? And if you hit $1 million, your total compensation at 100%, when you hit that $1 million, will be, let's say, $100,000. You with me so far? The compensation at 100% of quota, which is $1 million, is $100,000. Now, I need to make a decision. What part of that is going to be base and what part of that is going to be commission? Let's keep the numbers simple. I want to say that I'm going to split those up, right? I'm going to split it up and I'm going to say, you know what? Base salary. I can do just a base salary of $50,000. The other $50,000 will have to be earned as you sell. Now, another compensation plan that a lot of people use, which I think is okay, but it's, again, a short sales cycle, is just percentage of sale. So they'll give them a base salary. I'll give you a base salary of $50,000, and whatever you sell, I'll still expect you to sell $1 million, but whatever you sell, you'll get a percentage of that. So, for example, if you only sell $300,000, I'll give you a percentage of that. Let's say 5 or 6%. So there's base plus commission as a percentage of what you sell. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that because it doesn't tie to the quota. Let me go slowly because this is important. It's a very subtle point I'm making here. If I give you a base salary, and on top of that base salary, I pay your commissions based on what you've sold, not the quota, based on what you've sold, then you as a salesperson are not tied to a quota. You're just selling and you get paid on what you sell. So if you only sell $300,000, I'll give you a percentage of that. but it has nothing to do with the quota. I don't like that because it's not tied to a quota. See, I want to set the expectation. So, for example, if I say you get a base plus a percentage of what you sell, and I expect you to hit $1 million, even if you don't hit $1 million, you'll still get paid. But you didn't hit my $1 million. I didn't tie it to your quota. Now, the model I do favor, option B here, is that you get a base salary and you get paid a commission based not on what you sell, but as a percentage of the quota I assigned you. Now, managers, listen up. When I give you a quota, when I give a salesperson a number and it's tied to their quota, their commission is tied to the quota, they're more likely to hit their number. So let's walk through what I mean by this. And again, if I'm confusing you, I'll try to put this in an explanation in the description on the YouTube channel where I'll post this. Now, let's go through it slowly. Option B here, percentage of base plus a percentage once they sell based on quota. Here's how it will work. Let's say that the quota is $1 million. Let's be simple. Base salary is $50,000. And then what I'll say is your quota, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson, is $1 million, right? Now, you will not earn, we'll have to determine this. I've always done it this way. I won't do a payout. I won't pay a commission until they hit at least 50% of the quota that I assigned them. Now, I just assigned you a $1 million quota, which means you don't see any commissions until you hit at least $500,000. Do you see how that works, managers? Because now they're tied to the quota, so they really have to hit at least 50% of that quota, which is $500,000. And at $500,000, what I will do is pay them, this is important, pay attention, I will pay them a percentage of their base salary, not on what they sold. I will pay them the percentage of their base salary, not on what they sold. Let me walk through it slowly. Again, their base salary is $50,000. Now, their quota is $1 million. The first payout begins at 50%. $500,000. Once they hit $500,000, I will pay them, in this example, 10% of their base salary. 10% of their base salary, which is 50, is $5,000. So if they hit 50%, they just earned $5,000. Then, if they hit 60% of their quota, they've sold at least $600,000. Now the payout is, let's say, 20%, which of their base salary, which means that's $10,000. Now, this is cumulative. In other words, when I paid them $5,000 before, I don't then pay them another $10,000. I'm saying the total payout is $10,000 thus far. If they get to 70% of the quota, 70% of the quota means they've sold $700,000, right? 70% times $1 million, $700,000. Their total payout will be 40% of their base salary, which means their commissions are now up to $20,000. When they get to 80%, which is $800,000, I'll pay them 60%. 60% of $50,000 is $30,000. So now they've earned $30,000 total dollars. And once they hit 100% of quota, in other words, they've sold $1 million, I will give them 100% of their base salary, which means they get $50,000. That's 100% of $50,000, right? So at 100%, they're at $100,000. 50 plus 100% payout multiplied by their base salary, they're now making $100,000. Now, here's where it gets exciting, managers. Because their mindset is tied to that quota, that number, what I used to do is add accelerators. After 100%, anything over $1 million, listen carefully, this is where it gets good for salespeople, anything over $1 million, I will pay them 150%. In other words, if they're over their quota, what I'll do is I'll do a payout of not only $50,000, I'll move it up to $75,000. I accelerate the payout. And anything above 1.5 million, I can set up another level. Anything above 1.5 million, which is 200% of quota, what I'll do is I'll pay them again about 200%, which means that they can take home an additional $100,000. I hope you followed the numbers there. In other words, over 100%, I begin to accelerate how much money they make. Now, you may be thinking, but wait a minute, Victor, $150,000, that's a lot of money. No, it isn't. If they just sold a 1.5 million, their quota was 1 million, and now they sold 1.5, look, pay them the 150,000. So let's say that they finish at a little bit above 1.5 million, which is $500,000 over the original quota. What do you think you're going to do the following year? Instead of $1 million, instead of $1.5 million, which is they already hit 1.5, now you move the number up to, let's say, $2.2 million. And this is what I used to do to push the numbers up, managers. When you tie how much they get paid to what they sold and then tie it back to their quota and the percentage of their base salary, and again, after 100%, you can include accelerators, you will see salespeople begin to sell at a level you did not imagine. Now, you're probably thinking again, but that's a lot of payout. Well, think about it. It is a big payout, but what's going to keep them motivated? Look, after they hit 100%, they know they're going to accelerate. They're going to make more money faster. But they're also bringing in more money for your company. They're generating more revenues for your company. And to close this out, if you're a manager, if you don't take the time to design a motivating, exceptional, what do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for? Something that really pumps me up as a salesperson, then I'm not going to be motivated to sell a lot for the company. But if you design something that I know once I hit up 100% and after 100%, it can accelerate my revenue, my earnings, man, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to sell. I'm even going to sell on weekends. And this is what you want. You want to create that type of financial energy with your salespeople. And again, so what they earn a lot of money? Doesn't matter. Don't be envious. Let them earn a lot of money. But keep in mind, while they're earning a little bit of money, a little more money than most people are, you as a company are growing and you're bringing in more business than ever. So at the end of the day, you as a company are winning when your salespeople are also winning with a great compensation plan. That said, I want you to really think about it. If you're a manager, go back and look at your compensation plan. Don't tie it to what they've sold. Tie it to their quota as a percentage of their base salary. I hope this helps. Any questions, hit me up. You know where to find me. That's it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'd greatly appreciate it because I like talking about money, so I like this topic. Also, check out my online sales training platform. You know the deal, the Sales Velocity Academy. Ever growing, many books, many videos. If you want to increase your sales velocity, go to salesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.